Hello and welcome to the in-news series of Drishti IAS. I am Pooja Divedi and today we will discuss India's historic recession. Yes, India's descent into historic recession by the State of Economy Report of RBI. This topic is important from the perspective of prelims as well as GS mains papers. So let's have a look on the topics of discussion step by step. First of all, we will talk about why in news, the Atmanirbhar Bharat Rozgar Yojana. We will talk about the findings of the State of Economy Report nowcast by RBI. We will talk about the annual trajectory of the economy and we have divided it into three sectors: the manufacturing sector, agriculture as well as service. We will talk about impacts of coronavirus induced lockdown as well as the World Economic Outlook report published by IMF. We will also talk about the Reserve Bank of India, the way forward. And in the midst of the section, I will talk about a prelims-based question for which if you know the answer, you can comment in the comment box. So why in news? Because it's not a good news for the Indian economy. And India has entered into a technical recession in the first half of the fiscal year 2021. Finance Minister today has said that few measures are being taken under Atmanirbhar Bharat 3.0. And she has started this by speaking about the current state of the Indian economy. She has said that energy consumption grew 12% year-on-year basis in October, and the bank credit growth is also there. It's up by 5.1%, and the stock markets are also seeing upward progression. Now, she also added that global agency of rating agency, basically Moody's, it has revised the GDP and pegged it at a higher rate than before. The finance minister's announcement came after one day when cabinet has approved the production-linked incentive scheme for 10 sectors, which includes advanced chemistry cell batteries, electronic and technology products, automobiles, and components manufacturing, among others. This scheme will be there for 5 years, and it will have a total estimated outlay of 1.46 lakh crore. And she has also announced a new scheme by the name of Atmanirbhar Bharat Rozgar Yojana. Now, this scheme will help in the creation of new jobs. Who will it benefit? It will benefit the new employees hired by EPFO registered organization, and it will come into effect from 1st of October. And the registered establishment, the EPFO registered establishments, if they take in new employees or those who have lost their jobs, they will benefit from this scheme. These employees will benefit basically. And if the new employees are recruited from October 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021, then the establishments will be covered for the next 2 years. All right. Now, let's look at the graph, the downgrading of the Indian economy since the year 2016. Now, it's very interesting that the state of Indian economy right now is as such that World Economic Outlook report has put Bangladesh atop India, and it definitely invited a lot of censure for the Indian government. Since the imposition of demonetization as well as GST, basically economic reforms that do take a lot of time for the economy to come back on track, and now it has been aggravated by the act of God, the coronavirus. Now, yesterday only, the global investment agency Goldman Sachs in its report by the name of V-shaped recovery, that means vaccine-shaped recovery, has revised India's GDP for the year 2021 to be 10% and for the year 2022 to be 7.3%. Let's talk about the findings of the report by RBI. The Reserve Bank of India has published its first ever nowcast, which is based on the estimates of high frequency data. Now, India's economy shrank for a second quarter consecutively. In the second quarter, it contracted for 8.6%, and in the first quarter, from April to June, it was at approximately 24%. More precisely, it was 23.9%. And to show that economy is not that bad in the month of October, the authors use the indicators from basically vehicle sales. So the authors said that there is still a lot of chance and we can go into the second wave of infection from COVID-19 like many other economies. So there are still dangers which are lurking in the dark. The reasons for such trend in the economy, the contraction, is that consumers have cut back their spending because millions of them have lost their jobs and they have hidden away the entire cash. How is it seen? Because preliminary estimates presented in the central banks showed a saving of 21.4% of GDP in April, which has gone up from 7.9% in the same period a year ago. The bulk of these savings are basically bank deposits. The trend of higher than usual household financial savings can persist for the time till the pandemic has gone down, and this will come off when the virus tapers away. This problem will also go with the virus, although it will take a lot of time. Before this, India has gone into recession 3 times. 1958, 66 and 1980. These recessions were basically because of the agriculture being hit, but this recession right now which we are descending into is very different. How? Basically 3 reasons. Agriculture is not affected, it has gloriously saved itself. You can see it by the data of kharif crops production and bumper crop production, as well as good amount of monsoon and rainfall we have received. Secondly, export ventures for India have been sabotaged because of the recession the world has gone into. Also, the trade war that had been taking place since 2017-18 between America and China. Also, other sectors being badly affected. Other sectors which were badly affected because of the COVID-induced lockdown, such as manufacturing sector, transport, construction. So that is why it is very different from the other previous three recessions. Now, let's talk about the trajectory of the entire economy by 3 proper segments. Manufacturing. Gross value added at basic current price in Indian manufacturing sector grew at compound annual growth rate of 5%. GVA basically is an index to gauge the health of Indian economy. GVA is GDP plus subsidies minus taxes. So, GVA also measures the health of Indian economy as GDP, but GVA is from the perspective of producers and GDP is from the perspective of consumers basically. Strong growth was recorded in the production of some sectors like basic metals, intermediate goods, food products, as well as tobacco production. Also, India's index of 8 core industries, they stood at strong 131.9 in fiscal year 20. All right. So you have to tell me in the comment segment what are the 8 core industries which comprise 40% of IIP, Index of Industrial Production. Merchandise export, on the other hand, did show a decrease, and according to the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, India ranked among the top 10 recipients of FDI in South Asia in the year 2019, which was an increase of 16% from the previous year, that means from 2018. Now, let's talk about agriculture sector. As we all know that agriculture is the prime source of livelihood for more than 58% of the Indian populace. And growth in GVA in agriculture and allied sectors, the sectors which are dependent on agriculture, was seen at a 4% rate in fiscal year 20. During 2019 to 20, food grain production also recorded a record of 295.67 million tons. And in March 2020, FACT, Fertilizer and Chemicals Travancore Limited, which is the oldest large-scale fertilizer manufacturer in the country, has seen record sales of 1 million. All right. ENAM, Mandis were linked through ENAM, which was launched in the year 2016. An additional 22,000 mandis are to be involved again. And sale of tractors also saw a very increasing trend in this entire COVID-induced lockdown period. So all was fine in the agriculture sector. India is among the 15 leading exporters of agricultural products in the entire world. And according to the Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, the Indian food processing industry has also attracted a huge amount of FDI between April 2000 and March 2020. Now let's talk about the service sector. Service sector is a very promising sector in the Indian economy. And according to RBI, this sector contributed 55.39% of GVA. And it is also showing a little decreasing trend because of the apprehensions of different countries when we talk about foreign remittances and many other service sectors during the entire lockdown phase. It is also showing a declining trend, especially in the private sector. Now, let's talk about coronavirus and the Indian economy. According to MOSPI, the GDP in Indian economy contracted by 23.9%, and this was the worst decline ever since India started recording its GDP on a quarterly basis, that means from the year 1996. During the first quarter of 2020, private consumption fell by 27% and it stood at 59% of India's GDP, and investment also came down by 47%. So yes, COVID did affect Indian economy at a very large scale. India's net exports were positive because of compression in imports, and the government spending was increased by 16%, but it was not very adequate. And except for agriculture, as discussed before, every other sector was badly affected. But it's not so that because of COVID-induced lockdown only, the Indian economy is suffering a lot. Before its arrival, according to a survey which was carried out by National Statistical Office, India's unemployment stood at a 45-year high of 6.1% during 2017 and 18. And the stress in India's financial sector, like failing of the ILFS, as well as increasing bad debts and also non-performing assets, are a very big reason for the decline of the Indian economy. Now, what does World Economic Outlook say? For the month of October, as in the IMF, which publishes this report, publish it twice in a year, once in April and other one in October. So the global growth is projected to be at minus 4.4%. That's a negative growth rate. And it has interestingly and very grimly named its report as a long and difficult ascent. If we talk about India, India's economy is projected to contract by 10.3% in the year 2020, and it's the slowest in the BRICS nation. If we talk about BRICS, this is the order of the negative growth rate. India being here, after that Brazil, Russia, China and South Africa, and lastly the world. Now let's talk about Reserve Bank of India. The Reserve Bank of India was established on 1st April 1935 by the provision of the Reserve Bank of India Act 1934. Its office initially was in Calcutta, but it was shifted to Mumbai in the year 1937. It was privately owned first, but since nationalization in the year 1949, it has been owned by the government of India. Now, what is basically is the motive of having a Reserve Bank of India? The Reserve Bank of India regulates the issuing of banknotes and keeping the reserves in a country in order to provide financial stability basically, and to have a modern monetary policy framework also, in order to target inflation and to deal with the ever-increasing complexity of the Indian economy. MPC, or Monetary Policy Committee, was formulated in the year 2060 under Section 45ZB of the Reserve Bank of India Act 1934. And it has pegged the inflation at 4% with a band of plus minus 2%. The band being 2% to 6% till 31st March 2021. Now, moving forward, we will talk about what can we do. The investment in building resilient infrastructure is not only futuristic but also green. Futuristic in the sense it should take care of the fact that, as WHO has said, that this is not the last pandemic. There may be many number of pandemics in future. And green, environment friendly. Why? In order to just deny what the WHO chief has said, that no more pandemic should be there because of our infrastructural integration. And to also enhance consumption-led demand, to tackle the problem of unemployment, to tackle the problem of liquidity crisis and environmental challenges. Also, infrastructural investment for India should be done at $4.5 trillion till the year 2030 in order to create a sustainable economy. And the announcement of National Infrastructure Pipeline is a step in the right direction. It will work from 2020 to 2025. And it will attract an investment of 102 lakh crore rupees till 2024 and 2025. So this is the step in the right direction. Also, resetting the fiscal deficit at a rate of 5% of the GDP will also help, because it will provide a lot of liquid cash in the hands of the government. Also, this could solve the immediate liquidity crisis. This is the sole motive here. The focus on core sectors that can trigger strong employment and consumption-led demand, such as in the field of agriculture, in the field of infrastructure, in the field of road making, in the field of health sector. So this will also help a lot. Rural infrastructure needs to be strengthened that can spur the growth of agro-based industries, like migrant laborers after the imposition of lockdown went straight to the rural hinterland places because they don't want to stay where urban infrastructure was only very affected because of lockdown. So if the government introduces investment in agro-based industries in agriculture hinterlands, it will help a lot. The migrant laborers will see a very regional and balanced growth there. Also, enabling the survival of startups, small and medium enterprise. All these various small startups should also be incentivized, subsidized, and Aspire India, Startup Initiative India, Startup India Initiative. Beg your pardon. These are the steps in the right direction. So we can't say that the government has done nothing in this entire period. The government has taken various steps in the form of Atmanirbhar Bharat, self-reliance in the field of defense manufacturing, also LTC scheme, and now the Atmanirbhar Bharat Rozgar Yojana is being introduced. So these steps, if they work in tandem with the huge recovery rate of more than 90% in the Indian population, as well as the demographic advantage, we will bring India back on track. So that's it for today. Tomorrow, I'm going to turn up with another segment. Thank you so much for watching.